Welcome back to the channel. We're back with another Final Fantasy Commander deck profile with Ignis Scientia. He likes to put plenty of lands onto your battlefield along with creating some food tokens. This one is requested down there in the comment section. So if you guys do have a commander you guys want covered, definitely leave it down there in the comment section and we'll do our best to get to it. We'll also be doing another budget version of this deck in order to make sure we have some options here for it. And if you guys do like the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. But let's get into the cards. Since we're going to be having plenty of landfalls happen, because we're going to be revealing the top cards of our library and putting lands onto the battlefield, we have those landfall abilities. I'll make sure those abilities happen off that with cards like Chocobo Racetrack to get ourselves a Chocobo, which also has a landfall ability that gets +1/+0 for a turn. Conjurer's Closet. Since that ability does happen when Ignis enters the battlefield, we want to make sure that we could use that ability again and again. So we have plenty of ways to make sure that we could blink him in here. Crucible of Worlds. Since we have cards like Evolving Wild, Terramorphic Expanse, some lands that sacrifice themselves to go get other lands, let's make it so we can play them from the graveyard as well. Nuka-Cola Vending Machine. Create a food token, and whenever you sacrifice the food, create a treasure token. Like I said, we like creating foods in the stack. This will help us create some more food tokens. And with those food tokens that we're already been creating anyway, let's just get them to get some mana as well. Panharmonicon, on top of making so we can blink him to get his ability again and again, let's get it again, again, and again and again. And then Soul Ring, because how can you not run Soul Ring in a deck? For our creatures, we have Academy Manufacturer. Since we're going to be creating food tokens, we may as well create clues, foods, and treasures anytime we create those. Or if we sacrifice the food, we get a food, treasure, and clue. AC, Tyrant of the Gyre Strait. For 6 mana, you get a 5/5, allowing you to play additional lands, allowing you to draw some cards on top of that, allowing you to do all the fun landfall stuff. Avenger Zendikar, getting you some plants for each land you control, along with creating more and more powerful plants every time you get some additional lands on the battlefield. Bristly Bills finds Spine Sower. Whenever a land enters battlefield you control, put +1/+1 counter on target creature, whether it be Ignis, whether it be Bristly Bill, or whether it be, maybe just like Dow Report Major, something else that's in your deck. But then eventually you could double those counters if you had the 5 mana to pay for it. Deadeye Navigator. As long as Deadeye Navigator is paired with another creature, each of those creatures has 2 mana, exile this creature and return it to the battlefield under your control, allowing you to blink Ignis, allowing you to get his first ability again and again there. Displacer Kitten in order to blink Ignis, in order to get his ability again and again. Dow Report Mage, whenever one or more creatures you control leave the battlefield without dying, draw a card. Since we're going to be blinking Ignis so much, we may as well get that ability off of him. You can also pay 2 mana to return another target creature you control to its owner's hand, which could technically be Ignis, so that you can play him again in order to get that first ability again. Eleanor Gardener. When she enters battlefield, create a food token. We like food tokens in the stack. And at the beginning of your end step, if you sacrifice the food this turn, you may search your library for a land card and put it onto the battlefield. It has to be a basic land, but a land is a land. And it'll still make those landfall abilities happen. And yeah, we've been creating so many foods in the stack, it helps out. Essex Fractal Bloom, 6 mana for a 4/4 with flying. The first time you would create one or more tokens during each of your turns, aka anytime you create one of those food tokens, you instead choose the creature other than this creature and create that many tokens that are copies of that creature instead. So in theory, you could have them all be Ignis in order to keep getting his ability. They do go away because of the legendary rule, but not a bad option. Gilded Goose, flying, enters, create a food token. You could create more food tokens by paying 2 mana, or you sacrifice a food token for some mana, depending on what you need. Go Master Mimicry. Copy target activated ability X times, where you have to pay 2 mana to copy it once, 4 mana copy it twice, so on and so forth. But you can make so Ignis's enters battlefield ability happens again and again. We like to see it. Jaheira, Friend of the Forest. Tokens you control have tap, add green mana. They don't have summoning sickness as long as they're not creatures. So those forests tap for some good amount of mana, depending on, not forests, those food tokens tap for a good amount of mana. Lotus Cobra for some additional mana for every land that we have entered the battlefield, which will be quite a bit. Lumra Belle of the Woods. If we end up putting a whole bunch of lands into our graveyard, we need a way to get them back, and Lumra just keeps getting more and more powerful the more and more lands we have on the battlefield. Memeldor, Swift Savior, flying. Whenever he deals combat damage to player, exile to one target creature you control, return it to the battlefield under your control, allowing us to blink Ignis again and again. Peregrine Took, whenever one or more tokens will be created under your control, create a food token as well. So if we're creating a food, we get 2 foods. Or if we get a 4/4 green beast, we get 4/4 green beast and a food token, because we like those food synergies. Which you get a 4/4 green beast anytime a land enters. Rammed up Excavator, play lands from your graveyard, which, we have quite a few lands that will go to our graveyard, so we want to play them out of there. Sakura Tribe Elder, in order to get a land out of our deck, in order to get some additional landfall abilities every turn. Scoot Swarm, whenever a land you control enters, get a 1/1 green insect token, or if you have 6 or more, double the amount of Scoot Swarms, which could be a lot of Scoot Swarms, which a lot of people hate. Seedborn Muse, untap all permanents you control during each player's untap step. So say if you already had, Jahira, Friend of the Forest, to tap all those foods for mana, you could then use it again for mana, or you could use all your lands again for some mana. Either way, it works out really well for you. Shimmer Dragon, as long as you control 4 or more artifacts, it is hexproof, meaning it can't be targeted by your opponent's stuff. And then you can tap 2 untapped artifacts, aka your food tokens, to draw a card. Do that as many times as you want, depending on how many foods you have, which could be a lot, especially if you pair it with Seedborn Muse. Tap Diova, Benthic Druid. Whenever land you control enters, gain a life, draw a card. Same thing there as AC, allowing us additional draw power when our lands enter. Tifa Lockhart, whenever a land you control enters, double Tifa's power. And keep on doubling it, because we're going to be having more than one land enter every turn, hopefully. Tireless Provisioner. Get some food, get some treasure, get both, or all 3. If, including the clue token that Tireless Tracker makes, if you have, what's it called? Agami Manufacturer on board. Yashola Rule, another way to blink your creatures, along with getting you an additional end step, which you don't really need the additional end step here in this deck, but it could help out sometimes. For our enchantments, we have Burgeoning. Whenever an opponent plays a land, you also get to play a land from your hand. Which, if you have ways to search out your lands, you have all those Kodama's Reaches, the Rampant Growth. No, Rampant Growth's into the battlefield. Well, I can't think of the other one. There's another one that puts it right into your hand. I can't think of the name right now. Exploration up, so you can play an additional land each of your turns, whether it be from the graveyard or from your hand. Spelunking, you get to draw a card, and then all lands you control enter the battlefield untapped. That's the ability we really care about. Zendikar's Royal. When a land enters the battlefield under your control, create a 2/2 green elemental creature token, allowing you some additional token synergies, allowing you some additional foods if you have like something that makes foods anytime you create a land. We're almost at the full. Oh, sorry. Actually, we could actually scroll to the full second half of the deck. And then for instance, we have some counter spells with an offer you can't refuse, Arcane Denial, and counterspell. Nope, this place is a blink spell. For some removal, we have Beast Within, Blur to blink our Ignis in order to get enter the battlefield ability again and again. Crop Rotation for another way to get some of our better lands out of our deck and onto the battlefield. Displace for some blink, Essence Flux for a blink, Growth Spiral for a little bit of draw power along with an additional land drop. Harrow for some additional lands, Heroic Intervention in order to protect us and our food tokens, especially from that Vandal Blast. Planar Genesis, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tapped. If you don't, put a card from among them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Planar Incision for a blink. Pongify for some removal, along with Rapid Hybridization. And Realms Uncharted for some additional land drops. 2 onto the battlefield, 2 into your graveyard, depending on which ones your opponents choose. We'll get into lands last, as always. Oko, Thief of Crowns. +2, create a food token. We like to see it. Or +1, target artifact or creature loses its ability and becomes a 3/3 elk. And then his final abilities: exchange control, target artifact or creature you control, and target artifact and target creature an opponent controls with power 3 or less. Maybe our opponent has a Seedborn Muse, right? Seedborn Muse is 2 power, I think, right? Something along those lines. But yeah, we could give them a food in exchange for that. And then for some additional land drops, we have Cultivate, Explore, Kodama's Reach, Nature's Lore, Rampant Growth, Scape Shift, Summer Bloom, and Revisits. And then, as always, we're just going to scroll through the lands here. A lot of them are like sacrifice lands, go in our land out of your deck. A lot of them are just basics. A lot of them are just some good dual lands. But if you guys like the video, make sure you leave that down there in the comment section. And I hope you guys have a great rest of the day.